Good morning, Rotarians, distinguished guests, and friends. It's truly an honor to be here today at the Hop Meadow Country Club, speaking to such an esteemed group of business leaders and community supporters. For those who may not know me, my name is Patrick Fallon. I'm the station manager of Simsbury Community Media. To start, first and foremost, I want to thank the Simsbury Rotary Club for your work you do to give back to our town. Your commitment to service is invaluable, and I know how your generosity helps strengthen our community. I'd also like to acknowledge some very important people in the room. Simsbury Community Media Executive Board members, Treasurer Donna Senat, and our Vice President, Mary Glassman. And of course, our incredible volunteer production team who are working behind the scenes literally to record today's event. Now, just take a second and look at this setup here. I think it's the coolest. We got 3 cameras feeding into a live switcher, and get this, it's 100% volunteer driven. This entire setup is a full-on mobile field production kit for covering community events just like this. How cool is that? If anybody's curious about how this rig works, I'd be happy to walk you through it during our Q&A later. It's a lot of fun if you're into techie stuff like me and Bob over there. On camera 1, right in the middle of the room here, we got volunteer Dave Lesko, our cameraman and GOAT, the greatest of all time of community media. Dave's done a great job. He covers a lot of government meetings in town. Thank you for your service, Dave. On camera 2, we have volunteer Susie Eblin, a dedicated camera woman, and she's our former president of SCTV. Feeding in, thank you, Susie. Feeding in content from our laptop, our laptop is our part-time staffer, Cole Manacia, keeping things running smoothly for us. Thank you, Cole. And expertly calling the shots and putting the whole program together, we have Bob Bromlick, retired ESPN Vice President of Remote Operations and proud SCM board member. That one's a mouthful. Give it up for Bob. This team's commitment is what makes events like this not only possible, but memorable. And most importantly, it ensures we can share these moments with the entire community. And with that, let's turn it over to Donna Senat, our treasurer, executive board member, who will share more about today's session and our goals. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks, Patrick. As Patrick mentioned, we are live. So basically, we're going to be able to record this and put it on our YouTube station and broadcast live. So let's hope I don't say too many ums. We thought that seeing our work in action might help you to witness firsthand the professionalism of our organization and the possibilities of the expertise and the equipment. So before we get started, I would like to thank Alma Crew and Tracy James for providing us with this platform. We realize Rotary is comprised of civic-minded individuals. We hope this presentation will open opportunities for Rotarians and SCM to collaborate in the future. As we continue throughout the presentation, I hope you'll see how we facilitate all things local. Local government meetings, local high school sports, local exercise classes, cooking shows, all ways to connect our community through the virtual platform. So what's today's presentation about? For starters, Patrick will share a bit about our history. Most of you, even we say SCTV, but now it's Simsbury Community Media. So the difference is that basically media represents more. So we still have the 3 channels on the TV, but we're also via the internet, a YouTube station. And so you can find any footage, old footage, it's all up there, like parade footage, a meeting that you missed, the Board of Finance, whatever it is. So it's there to connect and inform and build a stronger community for us all. And then next you'll hear from Bob Bromlick, and he's a Simsbury resident who now broadcasts local sporting events, and they bring the 3 cameras out, and he'll tell you all about it. And it's a great example of the community ties that are forged behind the scenes among our production teams. And then finally, Mary Glassman and I will talk about finances and how you can get involved with whether financial or by volunteering. And we have lots of events that you could always learn to film, or you could create your own content. So lots of fun stuff. And then we'll wrap with questions and answers. So take your notes. And then we'll start with Patrick on the history and our organization.
I'm back. For those unfamiliar, Simsbury Community Media, formerly known as Simsbury Community Television, has been serving this town since its founding in 1984. Our mission has always been to keep the Simsbury community informed by providing residents with a platform to engage, inform, and connect. Over the years, we've evolved from a small local cable access station into a multi-platform community media organization with an entirely renovated studio that delivers content online and on demand. Today, accessing our programming is easier than ever. With just a few clicks, anybody can watch Simsbury government meetings, public events, and locally produced programs from anywhere. And I mean that too. We get a lot of people from like Florida that are retired, and they'll watch our stuff. Now, I know watching a town meeting might not be everyone's idea of prime time entertainment, but by live streaming these meetings, we're allowing residents to stay informed and engaged without ever leaving their homes. So that means for somebody who may be disabled or in assisted living, this could be their only way to participate in these town meetings. But beyond that, we produce and support around 400 video uploads per year, covering everything from public events to resident-driven productions in our studio and in the field. In 2024, between the live broadcasts, studio and field productions, our online viewership received about 152,000 views, which translates to about 13,000 hours of watch time, with a total reach of an incredible 2.7 million. That's the kind of engagement that highlights just how important local media is to a community. But none of this is possible without strong community partnerships. We're proud to work with local organizations like the Simsbury High School Capstone Project, continuing education programs, the Simsbury Photo Club, the Public Library, the Town of Simsbury, and our proud business sponsors. With that being said, providing these essential services has become increasingly difficult as funding decreases. A former board member once told me, SCTV is like running water. Everybody has it, everybody needs it, and expects it just to work. But behind the scenes, keeping it running is anything but automatic. We rely on grant funding, donations, and partnerships to sustain our operations, and that support is more critical now than ever. I could go on and on about what we do. I could literally talk all day about this, but I figured instead, let me show you. I'd like to end with a short highlight reel that underscores some of the greatest moments we've captured at Simsbury Community Media. It showcases the power of local media, the heartbeat of our town, and the stories that make Simsbury so special. Our staff member Cole Manacia will be handling playback, so sit back, enjoy, and see the impact of community media in action. After our highlight reel, you'll hear from board member Bob Bronlick about his experience as a volunteer and why volunteerism is more important now than ever. Without further ado, take it away, Cole.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Bob Ronlick, and I am one of the volunteers, and also I'm on the board, which I'll explain in a second. So I retired from ESPN in April of 2020 after 38 years at both ABC Sports and then up here at ESPN. Disney owns us both, so I work for a mouse. I retired during COVID, so my transition to retirement was slow. My son, Will, graduated from Simsbury High School with Nick Sinacori. That may be a name that many of you recognize. Nick is like the mayor of town, or the unofficial mayor of town, and seems to know everybody. Anyway, they've stayed friends ever since high school. And in January of 2022, Nick and his dad, Mike Sinacori, another name that might be very familiar to people, he's the unofficial voice of Simsbury hockey. He joined Will and I for a Jets game in New Jersey. We spent the day together, talked a lot. Mike told me about televising the Simsbury High School hockey games on SCTV. It was SCTV at the time, not SCM yet, okay? Anyway, we talked a lot, and he talked about doing the hockey games, and he encouraged me to come and see them at a game. So I did. A week later, I went and saw. Nick ran one camera, and then Mike was plugged in. Mike had a headset on, and he was plugged into that camera to do the play-by-play. That was it. And so after the game, Mike said to me, boy, I would love to have a second camera on this game because we only have the one angle. So a week later for the next game, we came up with a second camera, and we put a second camera up. And then we did that, basic TV, but we still did it. And then during that hockey season, Patrick introduced me to Roger Coombs, perhaps another name that many of you know since he's been around here forever, okay? And so Roger was doing basketball, and he had been doing it for over 20 years. So he was also doing a one-camera game. So he heard about what we were doing with Mike, and he said, boy, I'd love to have 2 cameras on basketball. So we did 2 cameras for basketball. As you can see, in a fairly short period of time, I'm getting deeper and deeper into this, okay? And I would see Patrick multiple times a week to pick up gear and to go make things happen and then bring the tapes back to the station so that they could run it. So anyway, I'm getting pretty deep. And so we kept working on things, and we increased what we were doing on sports. And then eventually I was asked several times by Patrick to be on the SCM board. And I finally said yes to him. And so I am also now on the SCM board. So in a few years, I went from not knowing anything about this to volunteer to then on the board. Anyway, big thing is volunteers are the lifeblood of SCM. The only 2 full employees of SCM are the 2 guys sitting over here, okay? Patrick primarily because he's the only full-time person, and Cole is a part-time person. But those are the only staff members, okay? Everybody else and all the things that Cole just scrolled through here, all those things are all volunteers. Volunteers to produce, volunteers to come up with content, volunteers sometimes to host, to shoot things. We send out a lot of people as shooters, not criminal shooters, shooting with video, okay? And then they bring the materials back to SCM, and Patrick and Cole, who are really good at editing, edit things. That's a little more, we teach people how to shoot stuff because that's a relatively easy process. And then we send people like Sue out with a camera unit, and they'll go and shoot something like this, or a parade, or a concert, or whatever. But then when they bring it back and we got to put it into a package, then Patrick and Cole kind of take over. I think eventually some volunteers will be able to edit too, but that has a lot more complications to it than just going out to shoot. Anyway, I'm way off script here. I got my notes, but I'm way off of this. So Donna, we're good, I assume still? Okay, all right. So anyway, we use volunteers, and our volunteers man the controls for town meetings, Board of Selectmen, Board of Education, Planning Commission, etc. If we're in town hall, we get to sit in this little closet up on the second floor, okay? And we have a bunch of screens, and we can see everything that's going on, and we show the meeting so that people at home can see the meeting, and also so it's recorded. I said hello to Heather earlier this morning. I normally only see her when she's on a little monitor when I'm doing the Board of Selectmen meeting. So anyway, So we also do stuff from the library. We have cameras in the library. And so any of those meetings we televise, and we're able to show the town either live or later on. If you want to watch them, you can watch them on our channels or go to YouTube and look at those meetings. And they live there for quite a while. For sports events, Patrick, can you do the multi-view? So for sports events, we have multiple cameras. We've been using 4 cameras on most of the things that we do. I sit at the controls, and I have one of these on, and I can then speak to the camera people, okay, and talk to them. What I see is what you see up here on the screen, and I can see each camera, and so I know what they have, and then I can adjust audio and that sort of thing. Hopefully, if we find some money someplace, we are going to get a replay device so that we can do an instant replay. That we do not have right now. Whatever we show on the screen, you see it once, and that's it. So hopefully, as we move into the future, we'll get a replay device. But we're pretty sophisticated. We have 3 action cameras. The 4th camera is locked off on the scoreboard normally, so that we have a scoreboard and, more importantly, the clock. So it takes about 6 people to do that. We've got camera operators, announcers, technical director, and tech support. Takes us about 2 hours to set up each time, about 2.5-hour event, and then another 1.5 hours to knock it down. So all told, when we talk about volunteers, the people who are doing our sporting events, and I shouldn't just limit it to sports because there's many other events that we also cover as well. But if we have multiple cameras like you see today, that's about a 6-hour task when all is said and done. Some benefits for Rotarians to volunteer, okay? If you guys are sitting here right now and you're thinking, wow, this is kind of cool. I might want to get into this and do this, okay? By the way, we'll take anybody as a volunteer that you would, if you'd like to work. If you've never, I did 38 years worth of sports, but I will happily teach you all you need to know, okay? And if you want to jump in, no problem. Anyway, if you're a Rotarian and you're wondering, okay, why would I want to do this? You can get information out about Simsbury things that matter to you because you could create a program. And if there's something special that you feel about Simsbury, you could get that information out. You can learn and build skills with video production and media. And you can expand your network by getting involved with a project and making a difference in our community. So how do you do that? You can go to our website or reach out to us at the phone number for the station. There's also sign-up instructions on the website. And even better, we're all here today. We're going to be here for at least an hour afterwards, taking all this stuff down. So come and talk to us and tell us you're interested. Thank you.
You got to love when you have a volunteer like Bob. And it's a 2-for-1. His son records reviews of movies. So it's a father-son volunteering. And last year they were the winners of our annual award for volunteers. But don't be intimidated by his expertise. There are training videos. Patrick is so patient in pulling and teaching everybody. And also think about content creation. So if you have a business and you'd like to interview, like bring a camera on site, show what's great, interview maybe your top chef or some of your workers, you can do that. And I have to say, like the most impressive thing that I've ever seen is, where's this? This is a camera. This is crazy. So I don't know, I'm kind of old. And so when we used to video our kids, it was like the Action News 8 camera on your shoulder and you'd bring it to Disney World. Why? I don't know. But now you can do this instead. And it actually, you can set it so that it keeps the person's face. You can put it on a tripod so that you can host your own cooking show. And the other thing it does is it removes the shake. So if you're not doing a good job of keeping the camera still, this is amazing. So this is quite popular. So that's the Osmo camera. And then from there, I just wanted to also think about what Rotary does. So I heard about your golf tournament. So you might want to come into the studio and we can set up a time. You can interview someone. We could talk about being on site. So things to think about how we can help you get beyond your circle of influence, right? You already know who you know, and you've told the same people about your golf tournament. So maybe now you're going to put something on SEM. And just know the easy thing is we'll give you the link to our webpage, and then so basically on your social media, the link would be there. It'd go right to the video content and seamless. Okay, and then from there, Mary Glassman and I would just like to talk to you a little bit about finances. Paul Hinault, he's a dangerous man. He's like, Donna, I've got something for you to do. And next thing you know, you're the treasurer. You're like, oh no, what happened there? But it's a tight ship. We don't have a lot of excess money. And in fact, to just back up, most of the funding comes from Comcast. So Comcast users pay a nominal fee, and then that's distributed to all the public television stations. And over like the last 4 years, people have cut the cord. It's down about 20%. So we're going after grants. What was the other thing we did? I went off script. Can you tell? And we're also looking to individuals. So business sponsorships, ads. So there's some things on the table. One is describing all the different ways that people can contribute, like as a business, and then get advertising. So there's instances where your slide can show up, and Mary will talk more about that. Obviously, I've gone off, but let's see. Why don't I bring up Mary to talk about donations?
Good to see you all this morning. Good to see so many familiar faces, and we really appreciate letting us be here today. I'm going to talk about how you can get involved in donating or in volunteering. So as Donna said, with the reduction of the cable revenue, which is going down every year as more and more people cut the cord, the revenue and financing for our small little station becomes even more challenging. And we're fortunate we have support from the town of Simsbury. Thank you, Selectman Getz and your board. We have support from the Board of Education. We go after any grant we can find, and it still leaves a deficit in operating expenses. So we've come up with a couple of creative things. We take donations online. We have QR code. It's on the tables if you want to donate. We also have it online. And we've come up with a business sponsorship program. So if you have a business, this is your products to customers, you can be a business sponsorship. I think we started with Chris Barnett and Steve Mitchell and the Mitchell family, where you can put your logo on our website and on a slide between programs. You can do a live stream where we put your business sponsorship logo right on the Board of Selectmen meeting. So this program is brought to you by Bill Seeley. And so it's a way of community. It's a way of getting our message out. It's a way of supporting local stations. You've heard today from Donna, volunteer, Bob, volunteer, Patrick and Cole, who are so committed. And, why do we do this? It's because, we've lost that community news outlet. We used to have local papers. We used to have reporters covering meetings. We've lost all that. So the only way people can hear about what's happening in the community is through us broadcasting meetings, through talking about what's happening in our community. I think the most powerful thing was during COVID, the pandemic. All meetings were canceled, and the only meetings were online. And the only way people knew what was happening, the only way they could hear about important decisions the town was making for safety or for finances was through our volunteers. So our volunteers kept the ship running. And so that's why it's so important. Transparency in our government, transparency in our community, connecting our community with each other, letting people know what's happening, whether you're disabled at home, whether you have kids who play a sport, grandparents can watch it all over the world. So if you haven't thought about us, it's time to think about us through donations, through getting involved, through telling your friends, and we'll be sticking around. So thanks for having us today.
Question. I don't know that I need the, but you're Simsbury-based, but so many organizations are community and Farmington Valley-based. The one that I can think of is the Y, where we have so many people. So is the Y, or are the Y events eligible, so to speak, for coverage through your station?
So that's a very good question. As long as there is a Simsbury resident that's sponsoring the programming, if they want to make their own original program, then we can put it out to air. So we've had programs in the past that were created in different states, Texas, for example. And if a Simsbury resident sponsors it, then it'll get pushed out to air. For sponsorships, we'll accept sponsorships from anybody. So we regularly work with some folks over in Granby, for instance, because Granby actually doesn't have a community access station of their own. We're actually very special in the way we serve the community. Because if you go over to like Avon, for example, Avon has a multi-regional access station called Nutmeg. You may have heard of them, but they also serve 8 different towns. So you don't get that intimate relationship that like you get with us helping with the serving the towns, the local businesses and everything like that. But to answer your question, you don't need to live in Simsbury. You just have to have a friend that lives in Simsbury. Our annual budget is just under 100K. I want to say, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong on this, is 97 about right? Yeah. The most popular program. So that's a very good question because I have several buckets that I categorize things into. We have the live views, which are like concurrent viewers watching like a live meeting, for instance. And the Board of Selectmen, hey Heather, almost always wins. People really like watching you guys. But as far as the two competing year after year, years ago there was an internal investigation with the police affairs, and it was a 4-part series, and that routinely gets a lot of views. And then the second, believe it or not, is Seated Exercises for Seniors with Arthritis by Mary Root. It's a program called Exercise with Mary. And she comes to the studio. Sometimes she takes a field camera and she goes out. She's an amazing woman, and she's certified to teach. And she will do all these different types of exercises. She'll do, soup cans, working out with them. She had one that did really well. That was the Great Pantyhose Workout, using it for resistance training. So that regularly gets a lot of views as well. Any other questions? Heather. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a very good question. So I'll give you kind of as like a two-parter, because I have material visions and then I have visions that are immaterial, right? So as far as like material, what I would like for us to have, potentially another camera in the studio, more options for volunteers and local producers to change out the set to make it look how they want, potentially an ADA like compliant studio desk. So if somebody's in a wheelchair or they're disabled in some way, that they can come up and make a program just like anybody else. Long term, for immaterial things, I would like to see our budget increase so we could have, we'll give Cole for full time. He deserves it. He's a great kid. But to have more paid members, because if the more paid staff I have, the more that allows us to go out and cover things if a volunteer isn't able to, because there are routine, I don't say routinely, but it has happened in the past where if a volunteer is not available, then an event won't get covered, which happens from time to time.
We'd also like to have more young people involved. So the studio, it's like a real professional studio now. And so we'd really like to get more student interns to learn how to use the cameras. We have a vision, Don and I, of a film fest where kids can produce their own films. And then we could have a competition. And we have really great staff. We have really great volunteers. We have now great equipment. And so we'd like to see more people in the community using it. So that's one of our goals.
Any other questions? Yes. So we have an annual fundraiser that we regularly participate in. We actually have a newly appointed board member who's heading our fundraising section. and she has been soliciting for different types of funds to come in. But we have our business sponsorship that Mary went over. We're in exchange for a monetary donation, which is tax deductible. We can do a variety of different things for you. We also have a meager amount of YouTube income that comes through our door from just views that, you heard me talk about all the views we get, that comes through the door. But the big chunk of our income really comes from the per cable. That's important too. It's a per cable subscriber fee on a Comcast subscription. So that means if you're just internet only, we actually do not receive any funding from any individual. It's only for cable television. And that number from, I want to say in the past couple of years annually has gone from about 56K to about 44K projected for this year. So that's the like meat and potatoes of our income. But yeah, absolutely.
Trick is like, what's our excess capacity and are we available? So if you say, I can only do Wednesday between 3 and 5, and we've just now rented the studio to a bunch of different organizations, then we're not really serving the community. So it's kind of one of those things where I'd like to see like more revenue coming in based because we have this fantastic asset, but I also want to be respectful of the fact that we're a nonprofit serving the community. So balancing act.
I'll just add one last thing to that. It's also worth mentioning that we do commercials rentals as well. So if somebody wanted to do a 4 commercial program or anything like that, we can rent out our cameras, our studio space, our employees' times.
This has been very eye-opening and exciting, and I'm really happy to see, of course, many of our friends, including Mary, but where the heck is Andy? But I want to thank every single member and every minute that you spent putting down all of this wiring and cameras and allowing us to see exactly what it is that you do for the community and beyond. That's why I brought up the idea of the community with the why, because Granby is part of our club. We're the Simsbury Granby Rotary Club, and we want to include things that are Granby based in any of our activities. So with that, I'd like to thank all the members. Thank you of SCM. Thank you so very much. And there's one other announcement. I know that Doug sent us an email about it, but we've just come off having the Yukon Women Huskies win the big national championship. Doug, do you want to give us a rundown of the top 2 and then the bottom 2 winners, losers in our club? Really? Can we do the women's bracket next year? Because it seems to be a less, we have more of a chance in that one. All right. Oh, TV. All right, there you go. The Mitchell, as the Yukon sponsors, will be driving the parade. Sunday? All right. Well, I would like to ask, come on, Paul, pick a number. What was that? 838? Oh, Bobby. All right, Bob bought a bunch of tickets today. Let's see. our meeting, as we usually do, with the four-way test, which is over there. So, of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you so much, everybody. And see you next.
For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
Bringing us together through
through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive.
for generations to come.
Visit our website.
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
Counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
where your town
Your schools
and your government
Come together.